Hi everybody and welcome to today's episode of Learn This Deck with the Dreaming Way Tarot. And what's going to happen today is something totally different from what the kind of videos we've been doing so far. And the reason is course correction. It's like yesterday when I was doing the Ten of Wands, I was already inside of my head thinking, should I do the page or should I just take all the court cards and do them all together, like all the 4 pages in one go and all the 4 nights in one go, and all of that sort of brought me back to the LWB. And I remember when I was talking about right at the outset of the Suit of Wands, when I was talking about a lot of stuff that the deck creator has written in the LWB right at the beginning of the Minor Arcana, and I would make a special video about it and so on. So that's what, as I was making my video yesterday, that's what I thought. I said, oh my god, I have to still make that video. And while I was making the slides for that video, it sort of struck me that I should do a little bit of course correction. I should change my path a little bit and I should do something different. So from tomorrow you'll be seeing a very different kind of video where based on this video, what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at each of the cards in the groups based on their numbers. The advantage would be that we will be looking at the number, the number story. The numerological perspective will be added into the story, which is great, and we will be able to sort of get complete this whole series a little bit sooner, so we can start working on the next deck, because otherwise we would be just like going on forever, right? Okay, so now without any further ado, let me just go and start with what should have been the beginning of the Minor Arcana. And at the beginning of the Minor Arcana, the deck creator has written quite a bit about the characteristics of the suits. So I'm going to delve into it a little bit. I'm going to be reading actually from, some of the material I'll be reading from the LWB, just so you have an idea of what he's trying to say, because it took me a few seconds to say, oh, okay, yeah, that's what he's talking about. So let's see, right? What he says is that the basic components of the human, in our humans, it's divided into body, mind, and soul, right? So essentially what we are is our physical body, what's going on in our mind, which is all stuff, and the soul, which is on the spiritual level. Now the body can be subdivided into matter and body. The mind can be subdivided into emotion and mind, and the soul can be subdivided into soul and spirit. So this is his philosophy, this is his ideology perhaps, and it kind of makes sense ultimately. Now he says, this is the hierarchical order. This is kind of the picture he has drawn even in the LWB, right? Now he says that the Minor Arcana of the tarot relates to these bottom 4 points, which is matter, body, emotion, and mind. And so matter is all about pentacles. So the suit of pentacles is all about the matter aspect of the body, right? And the wands suit talks about the body related matters. Emotions are dealt with in the suit of cups, and the mind stuff is dealt with in the suit of swords. Now I'm going to go a little one step further, and I'm going to say, what about these two, the spirit and the soul? According to me, these two together are dealt with in the major arcana. Okay, this is my addition. This is not what what the deck creator wrote, but this is something that I've always sort of felt. So that's the sort of logical sort of differentiation or breakup that he has done. So that sort of helps us understand what each of the suit is all about. So that's why when we talk about Pentacles and Wands, we're essentially talking about the physical world. But when we're talking about the Cups and the Swords, we're talking about the mind, and we're talking about the feelings, and we're talking about emotions, we're talking about logic. So he's kind of subdivided everything in that way, and it does make sense on that level. Okay. Now, further, he talks about these characteristics of the numbers, because naturally all of the different cards in the suit are in ordered by number 1 to 10, and then we have page, knight, queen, and king, which some people could say could be 11, 12, 13, and 14. But since there is no number really essentially printed on it, that's just speculation, I would say. So anyhow, so let's get into the numbers and see what, very quickly see what he has to say about each of these numbers. The first, number 1, is about existence. Now he says it means existence itself. It means it is different from other surrounding things. So if something is the same as everything around it, its existence cannot be proven. That is something that that's food for thought, isn't it? So for example, you cannot prove that water exists in water. Therefore, existence means that it has a unique nature. Something really deep, something worth pondering upon. If you have the LWB, I would say take a few minutes with each number and understand the sort of ethos that the deck creator is wanting for you to sort of, get into. The next one is the number 2, and he says the number 2 is like a chemical response when 1 and 1 meet. So that is the whole unique action thing, right? So the response will be different according to each suit's nature. And he goes on to give an example about pentacles, because pentacles are earth. So what will happen when two lumps of earth meet together? So ultimately it will become like, it will be a single lump of earth, right? Nothing great is going to happen. So it has the meaning of sustaining. The meaning of other suits can be found in this way. So depending on the suit, the meaning of this number 2 will change depending on the nature of the suit. So that is the whole point. So that is why it is unique, what happens in the 2. Okay. We will, of course, when we get into the 2, we will look at it much more deeper. That's the whole plan. But here we go. Now, number 3, first completion, right? So there will be, this does not refer to the big accomplishments, but it is important that in the first experience of completion involves necessary steps along the way to something more significant. The first completion is typically micro, personal, and short term. So it's like, 1 plus 2, you come to 3. So it's like the first initial stage where things sort of happen or get completed. It's like the first stage of completion, like it says. Right? And there's a lot of stuff that needs to go further, that needs to happen going forward. But this is very micro, short-term sort of completion. And number 4, he says, is conservative, because he says this is a number which talks about stability. And the example he gives is that if the surface of the floor should be even, and the 4 legs of a table should be of the same length, and that is when the table will sort of remain stable on the floor, right? So that is why 4 is a number which talks about stability, and it is also a very conservative number. Okay. Number 5 talks about difficulty or challenge. So this is one number where there's a sort of a struggle before you go on to the next step. So if you see the growth process, with 1 there is just that singular sort of existence. With two ones meet each other, and there is a how do you say it, a slow movement forward in a very, very, very unique way. But at 3 there is a certain completion. It's the first stage. It's just very small, but it's there. At 4 it becomes a little stable. Now at 5, there's that little struggle that, okay, I have to now go forward to the next level. So 5 is where that little sort of difficulty, that challenge is sort of given and accepted. Then at 6, he says this is the second stage of completion. This is a little bit bigger because he says 1, 2, and 3 relate to something very personal, but 4, 5, and 6 relate to how how the elements respond with others. So 4, 5, and 6 are about how it is with others, how your interaction goes with others. So this is a completion where others are also in the picture. It's not just a personal victory or something, but it's like with other people, with other elements, with other situations and circumstances all together. It's a win-win sort of a situation that has happened here. Then we move to 7, which he says is illusion. It's about illusion and deceit. It's a fantasy and daydreams. It's like chasing the pot at the end of the rainbow. It signals that you do not see the truth. So again, now once you've reached the second stage of completion, you're like, okay, you know what, this is awesome, I'm great, this, oh yeah, I can do it, I can run after this, and you start having maybe all kinds of fanciful thoughts. That is 7 according to him. But then at 8, you realize what's going on and there's a new beginning. This is like, that's why it says it's a relearning of existing things. You go back to the basics. It's like you come back to the earth with a thud and you're like, oh my god, I've just been fanciful here, so let me start at the beginning. But it's not necessarily 100% zero beginning. It is, you've come to a point, so you start again, you start over. That's your new beginning. And then finally we have 9, which is the final completion or the third completion. This is where everything sort of, winds up. There is fulfillment, there is satisfaction, and you've achieved what you were meant to achieve. But does our suit of tarot kind of end at 9? No, it doesn't. That's what 10 is all about. It's about excess, right? If something is too much, it has the same effect as too little. That's what it says. Too much makes things worse, and so does too little. So 10 is what happens is when you've come at 9, you're in a nice sweet spot, everything is done, everything is sorted, but then you go extreme and you go, a little extra, and that's your 10, right? So 10 is a number which causes problems because of excess or extremism. So when you go overboard with something, you will see 10. Okay. So this is these are the the numbers. There's also a little bit more about the court cards, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. We're going to look at that the beginning of when we will get to the court cards. So what you got to do today is, I don't know, you can take a break and have a look at my sort of supplies, I would say, my journal, my deck, and the LWB. Just take a break and go over this video, go over the numbers, think about what these numbers mean to you, and from tomorrow we're gonna start anew, afresh, and we're gonna look at all the aces in one go. And so that is going to be interesting because we're going to look at it from, so that way we will finish in 14 days. So that's good, right? And we'll finish this quicker, but that means that you'll have to do 4 cards per day. Okay, so if you're studying with me, but well, that's okay, right? Instead of doing 1 card a day, it was just moving pretty slowly. So I will see you again tomorrow with the aces. Until then, stay good, stay cool, and learn this deck. Bye now.